For our next session, I want to talk a little bit about remote access. We've got multiple vendors that provide different types of remote access. Contractors have struggled with it and been successful with it for a long time, but it's an evolving landscape, and really today it has a big focus on cybersecurity requirements. I want to talk about what technologies exist that reduce the need for on-site visits for contractors and provide secure site-to-site connections in ways that the IT departments of the buildings that we're working in, are going to approve. Today's panelists are going to share some real-world strategies, deployment considerations, and lesson learned from their solution specifically's perspective. I want to focus on, ease of use, network security, and serviceability. So to get started, I'm going to do things a little bit differently this time. I want to go through all the panelists, and I'm going to start at this end and go that way. I'm going to have you introduce yourself briefly, 30-second introduction, and then I want you to give me the 2-minute sales pitch of your product and what remote access means to your solution. Aaron.
Awesome. Thanks. Glad to be here. Aaron Brondum. I lead business development and partnerships at Neeve. My background, I'm a recovering system integrator. Been in the business for 25 years. Spent the first 15 years doing programming, project management, application engineering. In the last 10 years, been in the software space around building optimization, and now in the cybersecurity space. So at Neeve, you may have heard of us. We've been around for 10 years. Originally came out under the name Iodium. So if you've been doing the Niagara stuff for a while, it's been around for a while, kind of disappeared, and now it's back on the market. We are a purpose-built OT cybersecurity platform. Part of what we provide is remote access. It's a zero trust remote access. Our founders, our current leadership, they're all former Cisco people. They come from the IT world and saw the opportunity to create something specifically purpose-built for OT and specific for system integrators like yourselves. It provides remote access along with cybersecurity, cloud connectivity, and then it also run edge applications. We're a Niagara OEM. You can now run a supervisor on the same device that's providing cybersecurity and remote access.
Perfect.
One solution.
Thank you. Sandra.
Good morning. I'm Sandra Thoene from Tosibox, and I lead the partner sales at Tosibox. I'm so excited to be here. It's been a great couple of days connecting and meeting many of you, and then also kind of hearing, what are your needs, and also needs that are determined by other manufacturers. So what was really exciting to me to really hear the continued need about, cybersecurity, growing infrastructure, making sure that not only is your network able to connect, but is it able to do it securely, be able to scale quickly, get it up and running. And then last but not least, we keep hearing about obviously smart buildings for years now, and I thought it was really interesting in the one presentation when they were talking about going to autonomous buildings. And so, that is obviously a little bit in the future, but when you think about that, the basis of all this, the need is connectivity. Right? And so connectivity is definitely not only needed, but it's the secure connectivity that is so important. And having it be easy, scalable, and also efficient and cost effective. So Tosibox has been around about 12, 13 years. It's from Finland, and it was actually developed to meet those needs. To meet the need of having it easy to connect your systems, your buildings, your JACEs, and then also having it be scalable. That is really, really important. And so Tosibox does that through the automation. And it's zero trust, purpose-built for the OT. So they took the best of the IT world and adapted it to the OT world to meet those needs of having different manufacturers, having different protocols. And so Tosibox is also agnostic, plug and play, makes it easy to connect, and then allow you to connect securely.
Perfect. Michael, quick introduction and tell us about your solutions interpretation of remote access and what it means.
Sure. Michael McLaughlin, senior sales engineer with Tridium. I too, a former SI, so I have some field experience with remote access and getting connected to your JACEs and the stations and everything. And we have a slightly different approach. We have kind of more of a frictionless approach where it's software based. It's a cloud solution, and it runs inside of Niagara. So from the station to the cloud, and basically all the security that you'll be looking for. We have two-factor authentication, and you directly connect to the station via a web browser. So it's really lightweight in terms of a thin client point of view. And like I said, frictionless, so it's an outbound only port on a network. So from the IT perspective, that's really what they're looking for. They don't want anything coming inbound. So we have an outbound reverse proxy over 443. And so that's kind of our approach, is slightly different than trying to have a hardware solution in place. We kind of went the software route.
Gotcha. Okay, so remote access, coming from a contractor point of view, because I too was an SI for years, remote access started off as a way for me to prevent myself from having to run a truck out, right? That was basically what it was. Today, I think it's a little bit different, and I think there's different ideas about what remote access really is. For a lot of the contractors, it's become an internal standard for how they do their projects so that they can service it. But what I want to know for you, and I'm going to go through each panelist, is how often are you, your customers, those purchasing your products, are they seeing remote access or infrastructure as a service type of solutions that you might provide? How often are you seeing those specified from the end user level now instead of it being driven from the bottom up by the contractor? Are you ever seeing these remote access solutions specified from the top down? Aaron?
They're starting to get specified.
Good.
Cochrane's doing a great job with Greg Fitzpatrick, and then working with Newcomb and Boyd and Mike McMahon, getting out into out to the engineers, getting some specifications in place. We've always wanted remote access, right? And we've always tried to set it up. And then, if you've been in the business long enough, I'm sure you have done port forwarding on a local router to give yourself access. We can all go to Showdown today and see hundreds, if not thousands, of Niagara sites that are just sitting out there on the internet. The reason they're there is that it's remote access. So, it's not that, I think we all agree we want remote access, but the discussion now is how do you do that in a cyber secure way? Because that's where ransomware threats are coming in through. It's coming through remote access. It's coming through the team viewers. It's coming through the traditional VPNs. And so it has to be something that is, zero trust. It has to be a cyber secure first solution. And there's a reason we have a device that goes into the building. The device that goes into the building has a TPM chip in it. It's a trusted platform module. It's a cybersecurity device, right? Nobody physically can go to that device and do anything to it. It'll shut itself down. That's the cyber side of it. It's not a bolt-on of, yeah, I should try this. Let me log me in, or something else. It's got to be purpose-built for it. A funny story we had is we've got an enterprise commercial building owner that standardized on our platform across all their buildings, and Siemens is the incumbent system integrator in the building, and they said, well, we're not allowed to use Neeve to log into the building remotely. We have to use what's approved by Siemens. And their technician bypassed our Neeve device. Guess what building got ransomware 2 weeks later? That one did. Guess what? Siemens isn't doing any work for that customer again. You've got to take this seriously. Your name's involved. I'd say today, the CEO of these businesses you guys do work for today doesn't know who you are. As soon as you have a cyber breach, they're going to know who you are, and you're never going to do business with them again.
Great. Sandra, on your end, are you seeing the end users specify remote access in projects? Are people putting, your product or other remote access products in specifications for greenfields, brownfields? What does that look like?
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing not only requests for remote access, but what I would say is the word remote access is really now secure remote access, right? Everyone that's coming, whether it's to us, the end customer, Cochrane, they're all talking about they want to connect securely. So that is so important to have a device that connects securely. And along you were also saying about as a service, we're also seeing that more. We're seeing system integrators that want to provide additional services to the end customer. And so they're able to do that, through Tosibox, because you can then add any kind of software to optimize. And then just going back to the cybersecurity discussion, that is the most important part, right? Whether you're connecting one building, one Jace, or 100 or 1,000. And our solution allows you to scale up quickly. Because a lot of solutions, maybe you can do it quickly with 1 or 2 buildings, 1 or 2 JASEs, but then once you scale up, then it becomes really cumbersome. And then it also leaves open the door to, human error as you're scaling up. So Tosibox is zero trust, it's multi-factor authentication, which is another key point. So we also have hardware, right? You have to have something and know something. And that is really key, kind of like your ATM machine. So it's not done through all software, which gives you that additional security. And we also don't allow port forwarding. It's only outbound ports, no inbound ports. So that gives you that added security and also peace of mind, because as Aaron was saying, there is a lot of cybersecurity attacks that are happening. And the interesting part is you don't even hear about all of them. Because if you're a private company, you actually don't have to divulge it. So actually one of our industrial distributors got ransomware attack, got hacked. They were selling Tosibox, but they weren't using it themselves. So the need is really growing to have it be easy, and like Jacob was asking about, also having that ability to do services.
Great. Michael, same question for you, but I want to switch it up just a little bit. I know your solution is built into Niagara, which is something that everyone here is familiar with. How does your solution really address that idea of specifying remote access from the top down? How might it differ from these hardware-based solutions? And how do you handle things like role-based access and audit trails and whatnot?
Sure. So because this is built into the software itself, and quite frankly, my previous role as an SI, that we didn't see a lot of specification pieces for any of this. So it was always kind of, how do you get in with the IT department, right? And who's going to own the equipment? So our approach, it being software, I used the term frictionless earlier, is that it offers the ability at the direct station level. So that's all you're going to have access to. Get that remote access as long as that device can get on the internet, right? So that outbound connection, we use mutual TLS, which is basically you have a server certificate that talks, your client connects and those communicate, but your client also has a certificate. So there's 2 certificates involved. They get rotated. So getting that past an IT department is much, much easier because, once again, it's an outbound, it's encrypted, we rotate keys. So basically, you have to authenticate yourself, 2-factor. And after that, you're logging into the Niagara station, right? Just as you would if you were sitting right in front of it. So it's all role-based access, and provided you guys set up the roles as they should be, that same security would be in place.
Great. So moving a little bit to IT alignment and kind of deployment here. Whenever I'm a systems integrator and I walk into a retrofit opportunity, or I walk into an existing customer or a customer that doesn't have these IT or cybersecurity specifications, and maybe they have a slightly disconnected IT department that struggles with really working with the project teams, what does your solution, what are some keywords or some white papers or some helpful tips for customers who want remote access, who want to provide your solution? What are those keywords that they can take into? Do you have anything knowledge base wise to help contractors carry your solution into a project, Aaron?
Yeah, a couple key words. Only requires 443 outbound. Don't need to whitelist anything. Multi-factor authentication. Can integrate with your company's single sign-on.
Single sign-on.
Single sign-on is super important with these guys. And it's also important for you guys as well. You got to talk their language. You have to talk their language. And it's an opportunity for you guys as system integrators. We've been talking about OT cybersecurity for years and years and years. If you ever go to RealCom, they've got a whole day pre-con. It's the same conversation. And everyone's like, well, the owner's going to take responsibility. Well, the vendor's going to take responsibility. The opportunity is yours. You're the trusted vendor. If you partner with us, you can create new revenue streams for yourselves and fill that gap. You got to approach it. You got to speak their language. And it's hit and miss. There's lots of egos involved. Even, we have egos involved with our industry and same in the IT. But when you get to the right person that's open-minded, I can't tell you how many times, similar to the other panel they were sharing, is where have you been? Thank you, please. I want some more of this. How many times have you requested IP addresses from your customers? And how long does it take? Sometimes it takes 2 weeks, sometimes it takes a month. You hate it. Guess what? They hate it just as much as you do. The problem is they don't have a solution. And you partner with somebody like ourselves, you can provide that solution, create new recurring revenue for yourselves, also expand wider in your reach within that portfolio and that building owner. But yeah, 443 outbound. All you need, don't need to poke holes in the firewall, don't need to whitelist anything. They're going to love it.
Right. I think that's pretty encompassing. I think that's kind of with all of your solutions is a great answer. So I want to move on real quick, and I'm going to go to Sandra with a quick question about providing your product. What's the ramp up time for me as a contractor? I've never used Tosibox before. I've never, had it in my standard as a customer. How long is it going to take me to get my team to where I know they can go out and they can get 5 Jaces in 5 different buildings connected to a supervisor on using your platform? What does the training look like and how long does it take?
Due to the automation, it's really fast. And just as a side note, we have actually a video on YouTube from, 5 years ago, where a 5-year-old sets up Tosibox. So you've got the lock, right? The end device, the node, you've got the key. All you do is connect the lock and the key, and it swaps security certificates, sets up the firewall, does everything automated. So there's no user deep dive involved. It's just a few things, set up your password, things like that. So it's so easy. And so from that perspective, you can get your people up and running really quickly. And the automation also allows it to scale. So it's easy on the first building, the first Jace. It's just as easy on the 10th, on the 20th. And of course, we do have training also for, then connecting to software, getting data, et cetera. But the initial setup, and that's the beauty of Tosibox, that's the automation. Because our people realize that, especially from the IT world, if you think about it, like you mentioned Cisco, right? If you want to install that, you need a team of programmers, you need continuous effort. So the IT world is very cumbersome. Whereas we tried to solve that issue to make it easy for you guys, for you and your end customer. And it's, again, that multi-factor authentication. So you're getting the security, you're getting the easy setup of, no port forwarding, only outbound ports, very easy multi-factor authentication. It's immediately also, I think I didn't mention, the encryption. We do point-to-point connection. So it traverses the internet, but it's invisible from the internet. So if you can't see it, you can't hack it.
Great. Michael, with Niagara Cloud, in remote access, what's my ramp up time? I've got a team of system integrators that love Jaces. They've been putting them in for years.
Absolutely.
We're great integrators. How long does it take me to transition to leveraging the cloud?
Oh, it's amazingly fast. Basically, once you have the module installed, there's a quick onboarding, and that onboarding could take anywhere from a minute and a half to 3 minutes to click the button, go through the link, assign it to a project. Once there, the remote access service is already active. And so through that cloud portal, any onboarded station would be in a list, there would be a link, and then the authorized users would be able to log in and remote access to it. So it's amazingly fast to set that up.
What about training on your end, Michael?
Yeah, so training, we have Tridium University, we have our YouTube channel that has training, we have documentation, we have great folks like yourself who does the training, but remote access training, it's the onboarding that you guys do that I would say is most technical, but you're installing a module, you do that every day. And the access part, it's a web connection to your station. So be familiar with that. If you haven't been using web views, please start transitioning into that. Not only because it does view differently than your Workbench views, but there's so many tools now that are HTML based.
Great. Aaron, what's it take for me to get my team trained up to start being comfortable and providing Neeve?
Well, I'd say you guys have done it. How long does it take?
Yeah.
I mean, we had a prospect come in, says, I don't believe you guys can do it this fast. So he showed up to the Madden Site's office, had a meter. He wanted to connect to a cloud Niagara station, knew nothing about Neeve, didn't go through any training. You yourself helped him, 45 minutes, up and running, connected, fully done. Cochrane's got 3 offices with it installed, connected to multiple VMs up in the cloud.
Yep.
Less than an hour. Training-wise, we have Neeve Academy. It's got self-paced training. It's all free. And then we do 2-hour sessions for certification on it. It's held the first and third week of every month. It's free. It's open to all of you. We offer a program for you to get a free Neeve demo device for your office to kick the tires on it. Obviously, you're going to want to make sure that it works similar to what Cochrane's did with it initially. But it's made, it's fast, it's simple. Our team, like I said, former Cisco, if you ever set up Wi-Fi, originally when Wi-Fi first started coming out, you had to get like access points connected, and then Cisco came out with this thing called Meraki that makes it like plug and play. Those are the same principle that Neeve is built on. It's designed to just be plug and play, simple wizards, automatically connects, and makes it pretty seamless for you.
Great.
Yeah, we had a recent project where, a customer was trying to connect to Code Labs. And
That actually goes into my next question.
Yeah, they spent 90 days trying to get the tunneling to work.
Yeah.
And they gave up.
My next question.
They threw in the towel.
Quickly, and I'll just let you go on with that, but how does your solution, when you walk the show floor at AHR, when you walk the show floor at Contols-Con, we see these new cloud analytics platforms, right? Like whether it's Clockworks, whether it's Code Labs, and how does your solution, does it provide anything that helps me connect and get my data into those systems? Aaron?
Yeah, so back to that, it took them 90 days, they gave up, they found out about us. Within 3 days, they were up and running and connected. We partner, we have a marketplace. So Code Labs, Bueno, we're a Niagara OEM. You can spin up Niagara on that same appliance in 2 clicks of a mouse. Now licensing it, that's a whole nother thing because we all have to do Niagara licensing, but yeah, it's a seamless platform and our customers like it and the IT teams like it. Primarily because they want to try these new cloud applications. And when we all talk about AI, what is AI? AI needs the cloud.
Yep.
And so how do you get the data from the buildings to the cloud in a secure way? And if you're going to do each one of these vendors, if you talk to them, they all have unique ways to get it. Some are using gateways, some are just putting in custom jar files that provide tunneling. But if you think back, as I'm an owner of a building and I've got lots of buildings and I want to try lots of different applications, I really need a single platform where I've got full visibility into everything and have full control of it as well.
Nice.
And we provide that with our infrastructure.
Yeah, Michael, on the Niagara cloud side, well, what does it look like if I have a cloud-based, analytics platform? How does onboarding my JASs and my supervisors into cloud, how can I leverage that?
Yeah, so our remote access service is part of the Niagara Cloud Suite, which is a suite of cloud-based services. And just like remote access is built into the Niagara Station, we have the ability to have a data model run on your station, bring all your tags, all your relationships. So that's done at the station level. And then that gets pushed to the cloud securely through that 443 outbound port that we've been talking about. And we have a whole suite of APIs that allow you to pull the history data or live read write or alarms and whatever you need. So we're have that open approach still, whereas Niagara is a service providing all of these other things, and those cloud providers then would tap into that data lake that's in the cloud, and it maintains, it's the customer's cloud all the time, right? And that's the one important thing that you want to consider is when you're helping someone figure out how to get to the data and these other companies, you have to think about, well, what happens to this data? Where's it going? Whose is it, right? And by leveraging the Niagara data service, the customer gets to keep it. If it doesn't work out with that particular vendor, another vendor comes in and can still get that data. And all the model of the data originated in Niagara. And that's important because a lot of time the onboarding for these other vendors is they bring it into their cloud environment, they do the data modeling there. Then if you don't want that relationship, you're starting all over again. So that's one of the ways that we really differentiate that.
Great. We're running out of time, but I'm thinking, kind of listening to these solutions and installing them, because at Cochrane we have every single one of these solutions in our offices. Everyone you see on stage we support regularly. And one of my thoughts that I've been seeing, and if I could go back in time to when I was a systems integrator, was a lot of these solutions require some kind of like infrastructure as a service recurring cost, or a software as a service recurring cost. That's not something that whenever I was an SI, I would have struggled to get paid for that, or I would struggle to track that. And when I put myself back in those shoes, I say, do I need to figure that out? How does that look for a contractor to sell these software as a services as part of these big CapEx projects? And I want to start with Sandra. Is that the only option I need to have today, and do I need to figure that out? And if I need to, how do I do that? How do I sell these?
Yeah, so Tosibox is easy and flexible. I call it building blocks. So as I was mentioning earlier, you've got the lock and the key that gives you really traditional remote access. And then if you want to then go that step further to provide services to your end customer or use it to manage your customers, we have the hub, which is an overarching platform that ties it all together, centralizes it. So it gives you then centralized user access, centralized data collection, and also audit trails, user groups, so it makes it much easier to manage your entire infrastructure. And then along with that, you can add any software. So whether it's Niagara, that's what Cochrane does. They use the Tosibox hub, add Niagara, and then resell it as a package. And we have many other partners that do similar things, whether it's Niagara, a SkySpark, or any of the other solutions. And then what it allows you to do, it's automated. So all you have to do is put Niagara in our hub in the cloud, and then you can access it from anywhere. And of course, you have to pay the license to Niagara or Code Labs or whatever. But again, the key is that it's easy and the security is very tight. We meet all requirements. And the one thing to remember too is that, when you're setting this up, you can host it anywhere. And the key that I want to really differentiate with Tosibox is that you're collecting data and putting it in a cloud. But your data is not passing through a cloud. That's the key. So it's going point to point from the building, from the JACE to your PC is point to point, and so it traverses the internet, but it doesn't go through a cloud where you get all the vulnerabilities. And from a pricing perspective, you go to Cochrane, and then they do the entire, build the entire platform,
So, yeah, and Aaron, like I know with your products that we use at Cochrane, I know you send me a bill every year for them.
Yeah.
How do I roll that into a construction project? Tell me, how do I bid that?
I have language for you to do it. No, we're SaaS. It is, and let's be honest, real estate runs behind the rest of the world. We're 10 years behind. Everything's SaaS. All the IT teams that are using the Cisco gear that you're not exposed to, it's all SaaS. It's not new for them. It's just a matter of time. And transitioning from being a system integrator for 15 years, moving to the SaaS software space for the last 10 years. At first, I've talked to some big companies out there. I work for one, this company called Yardi, that's like the oracle of commercial real estate. You might not have heard of them, but they spun up an energy group. And the owner of that shared a story of what the problem that they were facing when they saturated the market with their product. And that what happened as a software, you have to continually develop, you have to upkeep it, you have to manage it, you have to maintain it. But the problem is they were in like 50% of the market share, so their sales started to tank off. And they didn't have the revenue to have support the engineering and the support team to do it. And he said it was a big hurdle, but once they transitioned to SaaS, now they've created a much healthier company as a software business that now they can continually add new products. They had the amazing support staff behind it to manage and maintain it. So here at Neeve, following that same example that you guys are used to, you're paying SaaS all over the place today. You just don't want to pay for it in what you're doing work-wise. We've got 24/7 tech support. Phone call away, we're there to do it. And we can support that and do that because we've created a healthy software business modeled after all the other software systems that you guys are currently using to manage your own business today. So it is a little bit of a hurdle. I've got language that you can add to your bids. It says, hey, I'm providing this. If you don't want it, Mr. Customer, I'm providing Neeve cybersecurity. This is why I'm doing it. You can deduct this amount if you don't want it. I just want you to initial here to say you release us of any cyber liability. Guess what? They don't sign it. Just like you want to protect your business, you've got to approach it and say, I'm doing this to protect your business as well, Mr. Customer. This is an insurance policy, right? It's going to give us the functionality, but it's additional insurance. And one thing we're also doing here at Neeve is we're working with insurance companies. So if you are carrying cyber insurance, we can potentially, if you adopt our product, can reduce your cyber premiums for you, and we can work with you and those insurance providers that you're working with as well.
Great. Michael, that was pretty good catch-all there, I think, but do you have any kind of, off to the side? I'm pretty sure I get a bill from you too for my Niagara Cloud stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, how do I roll that into a bid? Anything different from what Aaron said?
Yeah, so slightly different. We're software only, and there's two components really. So we're all familiar with an SMA, right? And we're all want to be cyber aware with our stations and keep those up to date. So first, that has to happen. We support latest releases. And so when you start thinking about that, we have a bundled SMA with cloud that can be purchased. It's a great price point, and you have to kind of say, am I providing this service to the customer, and how is it benefiting me as well? I think that's a very important thing. I think the pricing is such that the cost of your service contract can easily cover what it's going to be. And if you find that that's not palatable for you or whatnot, you can give remote access to the customer as well, right? So they have also the benefit. So you kind of got to, I think it's just, you're going to be creative. It's not an expensive option, and it's really part of an SMA bundle.
Great. Yeah. Like at Cochrane Supply, like I said, we use all of these solutions for different applications, and we want to have a testing ground for our contractors to be able to come in and see those different options and see what works for them. I think one of the best suggestions we have is to create some sort of a standard or have a game plan for how you're going to do it. But we're seeing the same thing from our contractors that was just kind of explained here. Aaron had a great angle of how do you get that paid for, and then Michael had the other angle of, well, look at the cost, and if I'm saving that much time not running trucks out there, I don't really need to worry about recouping that. I'm recouping that naturally. So I think you just have to think about that both ways and really, work with the systems. We have test benches. We have, opportunity to play with and look at the different systems. If you have any needs or wants to come in and test or try anything out, your local Cochrane Supply branch can help you. I want to thank again the panelists again today. If anybody has any questions, I think we're out of time, but feel free to find these guys at their booth. They're great, and I appreciate their attendance. Thanks.